So the real estate market is nasty, messy, millions of people cannot afford a home anymore, and even worse is that there's a lot of misleading information out there by legacy media companies just like this.
What is the overall market telling you just in terms of demand? I get that it's competitive and the new builders are competing, but what does demand overall look like with mortgage rates back at 7%?
There has been a real shift. So home buyers over the past few years shook off rate increases. Home prices kept rising. We anticipate that prices will fall at least 1% in the second half of 2025. We are seeing finally evidence of a real correction where prices are going to come down.
So he said in that clip that they're predicting a 1% decline in home prices, and now they're considering that a real estate correction? That's pretty absurd, and that's just one example. Let me show you another example here coming up.
The housing recession across America is officially spreading in 2025. You could see even now in California, we have home value declines. In California, prices dropped 0.42% month over month, which annualizes to about 4.9% decline over a full year. Context of the fact that housing market downturns typically last for 5 years. Well, if you were to multiply those monthly declines over 5 years, you would end up seeing 2025 30% decline. So we are seeing a real housing correction begin to take hold.
So just because we recently saw a month-over-month decline in home prices, to suggest that that's going to happen now for the next 5 years in a row is ridiculously presumptuous. And coming up, I'm going to tell you not only why I don't think that's going to happen, but I want to show you 2 specific ways as to how you need to look at the real estate market if you're thinking about buying a home. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your #1 real estate resource here in beautiful Las Vegas. Hey guys, a couple of real quick things before we dive into the video. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn the cold hard facts about the U.S. economy, the U.S. real estate market, and specifically the Las Vegas real estate market, then make sure to subscribe to the channel down below. Number 2, if you happen to like the content in today's video, make sure to press that thumbs up like button, guys. That would really help the channel out. And number 3, if you are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, whether it's next month or next year, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When that time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. Let's dive into the video. So there's 2 ways I want to break down this video regarding the housing market, the micro view and the macro view. Now, the micro view are the headlines that we're starting to see right now, like this. Housing market shift, 80 major markets that are seeing falling home prices. Redfin forecast, U.S. home prices will dip 1% by the end of 2025. The price of home ownership continues to rise as mortgage rates show no signs of easing. And here in Las Vegas, where I happen to be located, which is one of the most popular cities in the country that people move to, take a look at this recent headline that just came out. Las Vegas real estate market sees inventory increase a massive 44.5% as buyers won't gamble on high prices. So we can definitely now see some cracks forming in the overall real estate market, even in popular cities like Las Vegas, which means buyers now are going to have more home options to choose from as more inventory hits the market. But that doesn't necessarily mean that home prices are going to crash or correct like a lot of people are hoping for. And the other viewpoint that I want to give you guys is the macro viewpoint in terms of where I think the long-term trajectory is for home prices over 5, 10, or more years. So let's start with the micro chart, and then I'm going to show you guys the macro chart. All right, so let's first take a look at this chart. Now, this is what I consider the micro view of the real estate market, meaning this is what's going on right now currently. So you can see at the top, it says pending home sales prices are almost negative. And then right underneath that, it says change in home prices from the same week a year prior, U.S. single family. So let's first take a look down at the very bottom left of the chart. You can see that yellow highlight. The date says April 2022. So this chart is going back a little bit more than 3 years ago. But just above that, in that small gray section, you could see a horizontal dotted purple line going across the middle of the chart. That's basically the 0% barrier. So when you go below that dotted line, that's when we enter into negative territory. And then above the dotted line, we're in positive territory. All right, so let's start at the very top left side of the chart where you see that number right there in that small yellow highlight. It says 12%. That means in April of 2022, a little bit more than 3 years ago at the peak of the real estate market, prior to that year, meaning April of 2021, when we got to this point, April of 2022, we were 12% higher in terms of pending overall home sales. And then what happened, you could see this drop off pretty steadily over the next year. We dropped all the way down into negative territory right there in April of 2023. Now, when we got to this low point in April of 2023, if we go across to the left side here, take a look at that yellow highlight right there where it says -2%. That means even though we dropped all the way down from a high of 12% in the year prior, it only dropped about 2% overall in home prices. Now, a lot of people thought that was the beginning of the end and the market was definitely going to go through a correction or a crash. But then take a look what happened. In the next 6 months or so, we went all the way back up into positive territory. And now you can see as we go all the way across, you can see the drop off now happening right there, right next to my picture. You can see that drop off where we're back down to that dotted line at the 0% mark. Now, again, we're starting to see a shift in the real estate market. So when we see this drop off on the far right side of the chart, where the line is now dropping back down to that dotted line, again, a lot of people think we're going to go into negative territory just like we did 2 years ago. But when this happened 2 years ago, it was a relatively small drop off before there was a recovery. Now, again, nobody has a crystal ball as to what's going to happen in the real estate market, but this drop off is starting to indicate because there's more inventory on the market, there are going to be better deals likely coming for buyers. But again, it might be short term. It could go deeper. We don't know just yet. Time will tell. All right, so now let's take a look at this chart. This is what I call the macro chart. So when we zoom out and we look at the big picture in terms of real estate over a long period of time, you can see at the very top where it says U.S. average home price appreciation 1950 to 2024. So we're going back 75 years almost. You can see a very, very consistent pattern in terms of home price trajectory. So now this chart goes back decade by decade. Now, I've shown similar charts like this in previous videos, but this goes back a little bit deeper. So let's take a look down at the bottom left there where the date says 1950. So we're talking 75 years ago, the average home price was just over $7,000. In 1960, 10 years later, it was just about $12,000. In 1970, it went up to almost $24,000. In 1980, again, a decade later, almost $48,000. In 1990, just about $80,000. Another decade later, in 2000, we were at just about $120,000. In 2010, $221,000. In 2020, $329,000. And in 2024, only 4 years later, not a decade later, we're now at about $416,000. So again, this is the macro zoomed out view. You don't need to be a brain surgeon to realize that home prices over many decades continue to appreciate. But the second real big takeaway is take a look at the far right side of the chart. The chart is getting more extreme, which means home prices continue to escalate more and more because the dollar continues to devalue at an exponential rate and prices continue to go up. Now, again, a lot of people don't want to look at this zoomed out view from a decade by decade perspective, but this is what's been happening over many years. The micro trend is we might have a correction, but when we look at this macro trend, we see where home prices are headed.
Now, more specifically here in the Las Vegas real estate market, where I happen to be located, again, you can see right next to me that even though housing inventory is up about 50% in just the last year, we are still near record high median home prices here. And coming up, I want to show you on the popular real estate platform Zillow a few examples of Las Vegas homes for sale, just to show you what's going on here.
All right, so now I'm on the popular real estate platform Zillow, and I want to show you 3 specific examples of Las Vegas homes for sale that are actually no longer for sale. They just recently closed. I want to start with this luxury example, and then we're going to work down closer to the median price point here, because again, there's a lot of people out there right now that think there are no buyers, especially here in the Las Vegas real estate market, and that is simply not true. What's happening now is that there are quite a few homes that are going through price reductions because they were massively overpriced, and then there are some homes that are still selling for at the original list price and sometimes even over the list price, because if a home is priced properly, there is still demand. So let's first start with this home. You can see on the left side of the screen, this is a $1.9 million home that just recently closed. It's not a 2-bedroom. That's actually a misprint. It's a 4-bedroom, 5-bath, 3,200 square foot home. But again, more importantly, down below, I want to show you the full price history. Okay, so focus your attention down at the very bottom of the screen in the blue highlight. Down at the bottom left there, the date says 7/15/2020. So we're going back nearly 5 years ago when this home was sold for $1,078,000. Now, if we look just above that, you can see the date there on the left side of the screen in that yellow highlight. It says 9/11/2024. So just about 4 years after the home was sold for about $1 million, they listed this home for $2.4 million. That's a 122% price increase in 4 years, which is absolutely ludicrous. They could not find a buyer, and as I scroll up here, you can see the price reductions until we finally get to the top here, where you see that sold right there at the top, $1.9 million. So there's 2 main takeaways here. Number one, this home went through a $500,000 price reduction from $2.4 million to $1.9 million. So there was a significant price reduction. But again, even with that price reduction, the sellers still bought this home for just over $1 million, not even 5 years ago, and they made $900,000 gross profit on the home
even after that kind of a price reduction, which just goes to show you how crazy the real estate market has gone from just about the start of the pandemic until now the current time period. All right, so now let's take a look at this second example of another Las Vegas home for sale that actually just closed recently. You can see on the left side of the screen, the closing price was just about $630,000. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, nearly 3,500 square foot home. Again, this home went through a price reduction, and I want to show you the full price history here down below. All right, so focus your attention again down at the bottom of the screen in the blue highlight. Down at the bottom left there, the date says 12/31/2024. So we're going back about 6 months ago only when this home was sold for just $377,000. Now, if we look just above it on the date there on the left side of that yellow highlight, it says 2/5/2025. So not even 2 months later, this home was fully renovated by an investor in all likelihood and put on the market for $637,000. That's a 70% price increase in less than 2 months when they try to fix this home and renovate it and flip it and make a profit. They were not able to get that price, but you can see right at the top there in the middle, it says sold for $629,000. So again, the two takeaways is this home was purchased at under market value, likely from an investor. They renovated the home and they tried to make a massive profit, and they got a massive profit on it because there's no way they put almost $250,000 into this home in order to finally make the profit that they wanted to make. So again, it just goes to show you that there's still a lot of homes and unfortunately a lot of naive buyers that are buying into these ridiculous price points even as the market is now changing. All right, so now let's take a look at this third and final example of another Las Vegas home for sale. Now, this home actually, again, is not for sale. It just recently closed. I actually had a client very interested in purchasing this home, but before I could even call the listing agent, there were 3 offers on this home within the first couple of hours, and the home sold above the original list price. You could see that price there on the left side of the screen at $565,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2,100 square foot home. Now, this was a very good value home for the original price point, which you're about to see, and that's why this home went very quickly. All right, so one more time, focus your attention down at the bottom of the screen in the blue highlight. Down at the bottom left there, the date says 5/10/2025. So we're going back a little bit less than a month ago when the home was listed for sale for $540,000. They had a pending sale that recorded a couple of days later, but there were multiple offers on this home within 24 hours. This is on 1/3 of an acre, which is a large lot size for Las Vegas, with a pool. It was a very attractive price point, and the buyers came coming, and they came coming in droves. And this home eventually sold, you can see right at the top in that yellow highlight, for $565,000, which was $25,000 more than the original price point. So there are now over 9,000 Las Vegas homes for sale. And there's a reason why I'm showing you guys these particular examples, because again, a lot of people think that the market is caving in, there are no buyers, and that's simply not true, especially here in Las Vegas. Even with rising inventory, if a home is not priced right, it's going to go through price reductions like you just saw in a few of those examples, but they're still selling. If a home is priced right and there's a lot of value there, you can also see there's a kind of a bidding war still going on, and homes will sell above the original list price. So again, I just want to show you guys the reality of the market. There's definitely a change in the market. There are more price reductions, but the buyers are still there, especially in popular cities like Las Vegas. So again, these are just a couple of the many examples that I find here in the Las Vegas real estate market, and it really just boils down to 2 things. Number one, if a home is not priced properly and it's overpriced, it is going to go through price reductions now as inventory continues to grow before it ultimately sells, and sometimes it won't even sell at all. Or if the home is priced right, like I showed you in that last example, these homes are still having a lot of demand from buyers, and there's even some bidding wars that are still going on here. So again, it all boils down to whether or not a home is properly priced, especially here in the Las Vegas real estate market. So before we end today's video, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite comment from last week's video, and that goes to Razzie. Now I'm going to put Razzie's comments up here on full screen. I'm going to read it to you guys, and then I'm going to come back on the other side and give you my thoughts. So Razzie simply wrote, "Housing market won't crash anytime soon. This is not 2008. This time is way different." Now, I completely agree with Razzie's comment, even though I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me and him, because a lot of people think that this current real estate market is absolutely going to mimic the 2008 crash. And I couldn't disagree more, because when you really go back and look at the 2008 crash, which was a very long time ago, that was what you would call the pandemic for the real estate market. That was a one-time event, just like the COVID pandemic that happened a few years ago, that completely cratered the industry. There was an oversupply of homes. People were able to get mortgages if they just wrote and signed their name on a cocktail napkin. There was no regulation back then. It was the Wild West. Things are very different now. There are well-qualified buyers. There's a much larger population in the United States, and there's been a supply shortage, and we've had persistent inflation. So again, in my opinion, we are never going to see that 2008 crash. I want to hear from you guys. I want you to drop me a comment down below. I read and respond to all of my comments. I want to know whether or not you agree with me or you agree with the fact that you think 2008 is going to definitely repeat and we're going to see an overall real estate crash. And my favorite comment from this week's video, I'm going to give a direct on-screen shout out to in next week's video. So just to close out the video, I just want to leave you guys with one final comment about the overall real estate market. There's two ways people are playing it. Some people are waiting on the sidelines, hoping for prices to drop, hoping for interest rates to drop. That has yet to materialize. A lot of people have been waiting a long time. Is there a potential for that? Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know. But the bigger thing, the macro view that I showed in the video, is we know where home prices are likely headed over the long term. And the best way to look at that is think back in your lifetime, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years ago. Name anything that has gone down in price. Very few things, if anything, has ever gone down in price over time. And that especially includes home prices. So again, you have to crunch your own financial numbers to determine when is the right time for you to purchase a home, whether it's here in Las Vegas or anywhere in the country. Now, again, I know everybody's circumstances are different. Everybody's timetable is different. Some people want to wait. Some people are obviously buying right now. If you're thinking about purchasing a home, especially here in the Las Vegas real estate market, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When that time is right for you, definitely reach out to me. Just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. I'll see you in the next video.